Hey everyone, and welcome to your safe space, where we talk about real stories of real people with absolutely no judgment. After all, that's what your safe space is all about. We aim to help you build safe spaces by helping you own your mental health narrative. Now, joining me here tonight is the founder of your safe space, Chiara Maldes. Hey Chiara.
Hi, Georgia. So nice to see you. How are you?
Uh, I'm okay, after almost a year. I know more than a year in the pandemic. It's been pretty heavy. Lately I've been feeling a lot of like sensory overload. What about you?
That's really understandable. It's been really a mix of feelings for me. There's definitely a lot of things going on. So I've been doing my best to, not get too overwhelmed because like you said, there really is so many things happening and there's a lot of
Yeah.
information out there. And right now I'm just finding my little pockets of comfort and peace. Yeah.
So interesting that you say that. I was listening to a podcast the other day. So this girl was exploring like different ways people are coping with the pandemic. And so there was like some people like they imagine, I forgot the term, but it's like what TikTokers do. So like they imagine a certain reality and it becomes true for them. And of course the typical like yoga meditation. And in the end she was just like all she was really looking for was something that looked like relief. So I think that's all that we're looking for after a year, right? So I'm just curious, like with how you're like coping right now, like how would you say that you're faring at this time compared to last year?
I think compared to not maybe not even just last year, but compared to how I was faring years before that, even before the pandemic, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely been a lot better. I'm really, really blessed and so grateful to just be in a much better space than I used to be. So before, I really struggled with a lot of anxiety, and it kind of became my norm. So right now, I think I'm just proud of, I guess, how far I've come in terms of my own mental health journey.
Actually, that's true. And I am so proud of you. So I guess just to give context to everyone that's listening, Kiara and I have been friends since I think we were seventh grade, since you were 13 years old. So I totally understand like the anxiety that Kiara's talking about. I've seen it manifest in her life. But maybe for the benefit of the rest of the listeners, Kiara, so you can tell us a little bit about your experiences with mental health or the challenges that you faced with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for context, actually, Georgia and I are both 26, so we've been friends for a
You don't
really
need to
long time.
reveal our
No,
age.
I'm just saying so that they know how long we've been friends. Because baka
Okay,
they'll be like
fine.
13 years old. That wasn't that long ago.
Oh, do you look that young?
Yeah, maybe we look really young. So,
Maybe you can.
also use just so they can appreciate our friendship. Hala, anyway. Okay, so going back to what you were saying, just to give context, I really did struggle with so much anxiety, and it was just a lot to do with, I think, a lot of the decisions I made in my life, whether it was relating to my relationship or school or work. It just kind of bled into all the aspects of my life. I would have all of these what is, I would overthink so much. So, just to give maybe a mental picture for everyone, just think about Piglet, what Piglet is like, what Piglet looks like, because I'm also quite small. um, that was really my life. I really allowed it to kind of, I guess I was I didn't really feel like I had power over it. So in a way, kind of it ate me up. It really ate me up. So yeah, that's just some context for whoever's listening.
I can totally relate to you there, Kiars, because I also have my fair share of like mental health struggles. I actually started going to therapy last year. I just stopped. I think about after 8 months, I stopped. Feeling like I'm in a better place now. Definitely, those emotions are heightened by the pandemic. But I actually emailed my therapist recently, and I told her, I thanked her and I said that like, I looking back at where I was, where my headspace was last year, I was in a really dark place for such a long time, and I didn't know it. Like I thought like this is reality, parang this is as good as it's gonna get. Like this is what it is. And then when you're able to step outside of that, like you realize, oh my gosh, like I was living with like a dark cloud. Like I guess like what you said, like piglet, like kind of like living under that dark cloud, like that anxiety, like not realizing that your perception can kind of like be distorted because of whatever it is that you're going through. So I'm just curious. It sounds like it was like a really long and winding journey for you, especially if it's something that you've been battling since you were younger. So I just wanted to know what's the most valuable thing that you've learned in that journey.
Oh, thanks for asking me about that because it's also I also think about it. And I really love what you said about how after everything, even if it's a long and winding journey, I really am still grateful for it just because of the things I learned. I think even the places like I've been broken and um, all of those things, it kind of allowed for just me to actually grow because I was like forced to kind of get out of my comfort zone as well, which was that. Like, even if it was, it's kind of ironic because it's a comfort zone, but my comfort zone was like being anxious, right? So, I guess to your question about what was the most valuable thing I learned, the first one is that I learned that I can meet myself exactly where I am, that I didn't have to wait for things to get worse or things to get better before I, um, asked for help. And that again, like to that, and that it is okay to ask for help. That like I didn't have to wait for it to like reach a point where it was worse than it already was, and that act of doing that, the act of asking for help, is something that is okay also because it's for me, that it's okay to choose me also, that there's nothing wrong with that, and that there's also a lot of power in loving myself. So I know medyo this na yun. Loving myself train and all, but I think loving myself really wasn't as romanticized as it looks on social media
Absolutely.
with the bubble baths and the face masks and all. I mean, that's great. I think that's still, it's so important to, I mean, do things that make ourselves feel loved, feel confident, even in those small things, because it's like I don't really think there's anything that's really small. But if anything, that winding journey of loving myself was definitely not a bubble bath. It was not a bubble bath at all. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think people always misconstrue like self love or loving oneself. Like it always seems like it's a vain thing. I know for me personally, like I remember before somebody on social media they posted like it's so important to take care of yourself first or to be in a good place first before you can help other people. So, something like that. Or but it
Yeah.
was like an influencer. So not to judge anything. Parang it was like a quote lang for like traveling or something. It seemed so self-indulgent. And then in my head, the first thing that I thought of was really like, that is so selfish. Like you don't have to take care of yourself first before you can take care of other people. And I realized I was so wrong. Actually, I think it's very empowering to know what it means to really love yourself. Like it's not just about you're right. Like it's not just about the bubble baths or like going to the spa, getting your nails done. It's really like having that confronting yourself and having that conversation with yourself that something's not okay. Like if in your case maybe that was I can't keep living in this anxiety. For me it was like that same feeling, like I can't keep living in this darkness, like something has to change. So I guess like it's not a pretty thing. Like it's really ugly. Like like you really have to be at your lowest and at your worst to be able to really love yourself, I think, or to realize that you have been depriving yourself of that love that you really deserve. So I'm just curious, like what did loving yourself look like for you in that journey? Because like we said, it's not the fabulous thing that we glamorize on social media, right? Like definitely it's I'm sure like a lot of crying, a lot of breaking down. I know that's what it was for me. So
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, it was a lot of that also. It was a lot of, I mean, we've seen each other go through that ugly.
Sorry, can I just share? So one time, Chiara and I in this journey, right? The self-love, mental health journey. We met up once after work. So it was like a Wednesday, I think. And then we went to a pizza parlor in the mall. And then we were just like typical, like catching up with friends. How are you? And then I think Chiara just opened the floodgate because she opened up about something that she was going through, and she started crying, and I started crying. I said, in like 9 p.m., guys, like in the middle of Gino's, like we were just crying. Like it sounds so funny and silly, like especially because it's been a long day of work. Parang how used to have the energy to cry, but yeah, it was.
We sound so sad, Georgia.
No, it was very cathartic. I think it was very cathartic. It was something that I needed at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, honestly, I really don't. I've never been ashamed of being a person that cries easily.
Me too.
I've never been bothered by it. So it's fine, and I'm glad. I'm so blessed to have a friend like you that I can cry together, and we've gone through so many things
Same
together.
yours.
So yeah, but definitely like the loving myself in the midst of that was a lot of crying, and it was a lot of looking at myself, really just without the shame and judgment of being wherever I was, whether that was in a very low place or whether I was, kind of confronting like darker things from my past. I think that's the other side of self love. That yes, it's also the little things that make us feel good, but it's also like in that same breath, it's also kind of dealing with the less sexier things, the things that at least in the place I was broken, the place I had some trauma, and that's really what does the loving myself journey look like. Um, just being able to face those things, um, and being honest with myself. I feel like that was a big part of the journey actually when I think about it. Um, I there's just like a few things that I was afraid to admit to myself. If that makes sense. I guess that's why it goes back to me really kind of surrendering to the journey. That um, regardless of the mistakes I've made,
Mhm.
it's okay to forgive myself for it too. And after going through all of that, I mean, honestly, I don't really think the journey really stops or it should stop. But I'm definitely in a place where I can love others more fully because of that. Because
That's
yeah, was able to heal those things. So I'm really grateful for that, actually.
That's so nice, Carlos. Actually, there's like two things that I picked up from what you said. First is like one, I really commend you for not being afraid, like what you said, like to be vulnerable and to really like show how you feel, to show like this is where your hurt is coming from. Because I think one huge like experience associated with like depression or anxiety or any like mental illness or mental health condition in general is a feeling of shame. I know that's something that's very large in my life. Like and it used to take form in the funniest of ways. Like really, like let's say I replied to a friend late, and then I felt like it's too late to reply already. I know that's a common it's a common experience. Like after like not replying to someone, and then you'll wait days and you realize okay it's way too late to reply to this person. But it would really take a toll on me. Maybe it's also because I'm a people pleaser, but I would really take a toll. Like I would really like think about it for so long, and then I'd feel so bad. So it would stay in my head. Like 2 weeks later, like oh my gosh, maybe I should message Chiara. Like I haven't replied to her message from like a month ago, like or like 2 weeks ago, and so like she's probably still thinking about it. And in reality, it's like that's not true. I mean, especially if it's a very real, genuine connection or friendship, like there's no shame in sometimes needing that space or like taking that break, right?
Yeah.
And then I also really love what you said about being able to love others fully. I mean, like I said earlier, I didn't know that. Like I, at the beginning, I thought like it's so selfish if you put yourself first, and that really ties back. It seems like it was really like a 360 journey for you, Kiara, because you started with how you kind of would like bleed your issues onto the wrong people that would affect your relationships, and then now like you loving yourself better allowed you to love others better, love them more fully. So I'm just curious, like, how did you get there then? I mean, like, it always sounds easy, right? When people say that, but then, as you've said, it's been a long road, a winding journey. How did you get there? Like, what helped you the most to get to where you are now? It seems like you're at a very whole place right now.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so I think what helped me get to where I am now is number one, just taking it step by step. I think that was the first thing. Just kind of trying to think things day by day. And in taking things day by day, I was able to also ask for help. So, like I mentioned earlier, I did ask for help formally. So, I went to therapy for a few months. And I think that's definitely contributed a whole, like, a lot to just me feeling like I've been released from, at least for the most part, from the that kind of mindset and
Yeah.
the struggles I was going through before, because it was really through that experience that I was able to face my own traumas and really, I guess, rework the negative narratives that I was holding on to for so long in that safe space. Because with the therapist, I found she was able to create that safe space for me that I didn't feel like there was any judgment. And I guess the way I would explain it is it was a place where I felt like it was valid to experience what I was experiencing, but I was also
Yeah.
challenged to grow from it, if that makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
it's actually kind of funny because when I was doing therapy, because of course, like therapy is a very non-judgmental space. So of course, like
It's a safe space.
yeah, whenever we express, like when I would express my feelings, my therapist would really say, "Oh, that's definitely hard," or she would say, um, "That's completely valid." And at the time, I remember thinking like, "Oh, thank you, thank you so much, thank you so, thank you so much for saying that," because I really was so I didn't. I guess I was so used to more than anything gaslighting myself. I would
Oh yeah.
I think looking back, my thought patterns would be like, oh, I feel bad about this, but oh, I shouldn't feel bad about it. I should la 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 la. There were so many I should attached to all of my feelings when and to the point where when someone was like I was put in that space where because all feelings are valid, right? And having someone just affirm that I wasn't crazy or something, it was a really big help. I mean, even in just that sense. But I also really appreciated the fact that I also was able to access these tools that I could really apply and um, simple tools that I could apply in terms of just reworking, I guess, those thought patterns that I had for so long. And I didn't even realize how negative it was until,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because like,
Until recently.
I mean, and until after that, like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much power, like, even just as something as simple as ay nako, I would say almost all, I would say it all the time. So parang wala lang, like even things like that lang. And the other thing that helped me a lot also was I had
Mm-hmm.
something that really anchored my capacity to cope, and that was the faith aspect. And I I guess those two things just really helped me kind of get to where I am now, where I really feel empowered that I don't that I have the power over how I would feel and just have like a better grasp of things because I really was able to heal a lot of the things that I used. So now I can really laugh about it. Laugh about the mistakes I've made, laugh about,
Mm-hmm.
laugh at myself. Just being a human being. I don't know why I put so many standards. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, those two
Yeah,
things.
that's so great. I think sometimes like when you're going through these things, like we said earlier, really it can distort your perception and really shape your reality. So maybe like without knowing it, like you like taking steps to really like improve your mental health that allowed you to become more open to your faith or to have something that you can really anchor yourself on. And I don't think one could have worked without the other, at least especially in what you've been through, right? Interestingly, you mentioned like gaslighting, and usually on the flip side of gaslighting, although people don't say it, I think is self blame. So like that sounds like that's what you were doing, right? Parang you would gaslight yourself by saying that it was your fault. You should have done this. Like it's everything is very internal rather than being external, or maybe another way around. Sometimes like the experience that people have is that the blame is all external without taking on anything for yourself. So
Right.
I think that's why some people have some like fear about going to therapy. They feel like it's only when your case is this bad, right? Because they'll always say that it's just me. I just haven't been able to manage my anxiety or manage my stress. It's not yet that bad. But there's absolutely no shame in going to a therapist. It's just like going to any doctor. If you feel any pain or any discomfort, you would be more than willing to see a doctor. And I think that's how people should definitely see going to a therapist. You shouldn't have to feel so bad about whatever it was that you've been through. Like you shouldn't have to self blame. So I'm just wondering if you had that same experience as well. If after everything, did your perspective change on mental health somehow, or were there any like misconceptions for you, or were there any things that was stopping you from going to therapy or seeking help in the first place?
Yes. So I think it was definitely with the aspect of going to therapy. So one of the things I would think about is maybe I therapy is I can forego it because I have naman other people I can talk to. I have my friends or my family. And definitely they're great. I mean it's great to have a support system. It's great to be able to have people that I can trust to be able to just make kwento or be vulnerable with. But something I realized is that, of course, like even for me, if ever someone comes to me, I'm also only kind of limited to what I've experienced in terms of giving any insight or advice or anything like that. Especially if ever I would talk to someone about their problems and vice versa. So that was something that I realized therapy was a really great place for because, like what you said earlier about just like having a doctor, because they studied these things. They studied about uh, how our brains work, how humans behave, and they're able to come up with, I guess, for the lack of a better term, some kind of like a treatment plan, or I guess a roadmap basically of what my healing roadmap would look like. I guess that's how I think of it. And it I guess right now I've realized that it's kind of unfair for me also to have expected that from my family or any of my friends, because of course like that's something that only that person, that professional, could really provide because they have the science to back it up as well. So that's one. And the other misconception that I've heard about mental health about maybe things aren't that bad. So I definitely had those thoughts as well. That's why I guess I didn't get therapy aside from also the um looking for the right person. Parang I I would think that as well. And like what you said earlier about things not being so bad, I definitely had those thoughts also that, oh, things aren't that bad yet. It's fine. I can just wait it out. And something I learned from my therapist is that therapy is kind of like charging your phone. So I'm the type of person that waits for my phone to reach 1%. I don't know if there are other people out there that also do that, but I really do that. And I guess how I think of it now is waiting for things to get worse. It's kind of like that, like waiting for the battery to reach 1%. And therapy is kind of like, you know, plugging it in maybe when it's empty, so that you we don't deplete ourselves all the way down. So that's kind of the metaphor that I think is a really nice way of putting it. That um, therapy is definitely great and even better and can be a preventative measure, especially when we're in a good place. Like therapy can be for not really maintenance, but just being able to grow from wherever that is. And of course, it would be great to not have to wait for the battery to run out or something. So those are the two things that I guess I really learned, and the things that I've changed my perspective on, especially when it comes to therapy. But I also do know that therapy is definitely it can be expensive. So I did want to also say that if ever anyone listening is thinking of that option and you do have you're working with a budget like all of us, I hope you know that you can definitely let us know, and we'll help you try to find that for you, and like maybe we can link you to certain options. So there are therapists that do by donation, there are organizations that do that. So if ever someone listening is trying to, would really love to go to therapy, there's we're definitely here for you to find a way to do that, and we'll really do our best to support you. So yeah.
Yeah, feel free. Anytime you guys can email us or even just send us a DM on Instagram. It's at your safe space ph. So anything that you need. Sometimes people just need to just reply to a story. Like, I feel this. I understand this, and if that provides any sort of like catharsis for any of you, then by all means, we're your safe space. So before we close off, Jars, we actually tackled a lot today. I really loved what you said about how, yeah, we tackled so much. I really love that you said about, you can just talk to your friends, and then you realize in the end, that's not right. Like I should talk to a professional about it. And I guess I just want to know, like, what message do you have for people who are still in that same boat right now, who are still a little hesitant, or who aren't sure where to start on their mental health, or even like self care, if we want to simplify it, on the self love journey. What message can you give to them?
Okay. If I were to give my message, I would say that wherever you are, whoever's listening, you are seen. Um, you have a safe space here, and I know it might not feel like it right now. It might not seem like it right now, but there really is a light at the end of the tunnel. And actually, really, I love what George's therapist said. Um, George's therapist said that
We
emotion.
exchange therapy notes.
Yeah, that's what we do. Um, Emotions are like tunnels. They have a beginning and an end. And wherever you are on your journey, I want you to know that you're doing great. You have every reason to be proud of yourself, wherever that may be. And whenever you're ready to take whatever step that is towards loving yourself a little more, however that might look, we are here and we'd be happy to support you in whatever capacity we can. So our internet doors are always open for you. Yeah,
At least for now, while it's not yet safe.
correct. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Gars, for coming on and really, agreeing to be the first guest here at your safe space. I think it really will. set the tone for the whole podcast. That the very founder of this initiative is not afraid to speak about her experiences, to be vulnerable, to really be open and really carve out that safe space. So we hope you can join us soon, guys. Next time we have another podcast coming. But for now, I have to say bye. So see you later. Thanks.
Thank you so much, everyone.